The construction of pulpits in the form of the end of a boat goes back to the Gospel, where the Lord preaches from the boat. We know that the physical structure of the pulpit is not indifferent. When one looks at the pulpits constructed centuries ago, one recalls the grace in the air when preaching was taken very seriously and when there was little alternative in society, because a great preacher was an attraction socially. Now they have to compete with modern media, and they are classed accordingly. A powerful preacher can still do good. And I recall how in student days, alas, the students would drift towards a great evangelical preacher on a Saturday night and would fill the place where these were being held on a weekly basis and would discuss then the content of what was said. We have lost the culture of the word and have lost also an awareness of its significance for the transformation of life. It is not enough to celebrate the sacraments. There needs to be a handing on of the fullness of faith, catechetical content, facts. If one scratches the surface now, one is alarmed at how little many Christians know, because they're not being taught. And there is also the fact that there are far too many words already cluttering their system. The Lord is warning against that in one category of the parable of the sower. It's that of the seed that is choked. It is worth looking into that, for it concerns us all today. You therefore, he says, are to hear the parable of the sower. When anyone hears the word of the kingdom without understanding, therefore we need to be preaching in a way that is understood. It was the principle of all the great effective preachers of all time, the likes of St. Alphonsus, who insisted that every word he said must be understood by the most simple widow at the back of the church. The evil one comes and carries off what was sown in his heart. This is the man who received the seed on the edge of the path. The one who received it on patches of rock is the man who hears the word and welcomes it at once with joy, but he has no root in him. He does not last. Let some trial come or some persecution on account of the word, and he falls away at once. It applies also specifically in the realm of vocation. There are some bishops who turn away candidates because of their age only, whereas actually we find that quite a few are ordained young after consuming the energy and the economic resources of a diocese in their formation do not last even after ordination, whereas those who are slightly older do, because they have a certain interior stability and know clearly what a life choice means after a certain age, because time is running out. The one who received the seed in thorns is the man who hears the word, but notice the worries of this world. How much is choked by worry, anxiety, preoccupation, the mind precisely cluttered, as though man could help the running of the universe by worry. And notice the lure of riches. How many false needs are created by man himself? If one lives simply, one leads less, and one can therefore be more free, because a lot of our needs are created by ourselves, and we create deadlines to satisfy them. For instance, I make a comparison between friends I have had for years in Wales who married, settled in a simple house, even though they might have got a very good career as time went on, and are still in that house today. But they have and have never had really a serious mortgage. Whereas people now in Ireland have to have a mansion, and they're not free because of this albatross around their neck. Well, I'd say that interiorly, a person who has no mortgage, a simple house, especially when the children have left the nest, is in a less cluttered atmosphere than a person who's afraid about the future with regard to the mortgage. Often, it's a status symbol to have a big house and a big car. But is there liberty and freedom inside? If we were content with what we had, we would have the joy of simplicity, and we wouldn't be coping with huge care and worry, the lure of riches. And he goes on, choke the word. And so it produces nothing. We are invited to be in the category of good soil. I was studying this weekend a very profound soul, a mystic soul, now already venerable, Sister Consolata Petrone, who died in 1946 as a Capuchin of Perpetual Adoration, and she was given a whole teaching by the Lord, one element of which was the insistence that he had in her case that she should always be calm. He couldn't get through to a soul that was agitated. But also, he wanted that soul to transmit something of his goodness. And it is something that we need to bear in mind, that the Lord is frustrated because of the sins of his own. He can't get through to his best friends. And when, in the priesthood specifically, agitation has taken over, they too can be choked spiritually, and can't have quality time with their best friend, the one that they're ordained for. It can happen also in a convent. and one can end up in a situation where, without saying it, the mentality could be, don't bring religion into this. Remember the abbot of Roscrea telling me about what can happen in a monastery. It can become a big machine, a huge machine, eating itself